gosti, dobrodošli na Filozofski fakultet Družbe Isusove, u čije ime vas kao dekan najsrdačnije pozdravljam. Naš fakultet će ovoj godini proslaviti 25. obljetnicu postojanja. On ima u sebi među dva studija, glavna to je filozofija i religijske znanosti, dakle gdje se proučavaju među ostalim druge religije. Posebna mi je čast da danas mogu pozdraviti Dorzina Rinpochea, nositelja znanja tibetske tantre, koji će održati svoje predavanje pod naslovom Mudrost i suosjećanje u tibetskom budizmu. Dobro nam došli, welcome, fakultet. Moram također i posebno zahvaliti našemu predavaču, profesoru Ježiću, gospodinu akademiku Ježiću, koji je bio zaslužan da se jedno od predavanja u sklopu ostalih njegovih predavanja u Zagrebu održi i na našem fakultetu. Hvala vam. I ja pozivam našega gosta da preuzme riječ. Thank you very much.
Naš cijenjeni gost, časni Dorzin Dhondup Rinpoche, koji će nam danas održati predavanje o mudrosti i suosjećanju u budizmu. Visoko je učeni pripadnik tibetske budističke škole Kagyu, jedne od 4 snažne tibetske danas žive budističke škole. Nekoć ih je bilo i više. I govorit će o temi koja je jedna od središnjih tema u budizmu. U mahajanskom budizmu su najviše vrline onih bića koje žele drugima pomoći u svijetu da dođu do prosvjetljenja, vrline mudrosti i suosjećanja. Govori se o većem broju vrlina, ali ove se najviše ističu. Dakle, to je jedna od središnjih tema, vjerojatno i vrlo zanimljiva u jednom kontekstu dijaloga među religijama, dakle između budizma i kršćanstva također. Neću naravno ja dužiti, nego ću zamoliti časnoga Dorzina Dhondupa Rinpochea da uzme riječ. Predstavio bih vam i njegovu prevoditeljicu, to je gospođa Ina Biler, koja je tibetolog i stručni prevoditelj sa tibetskoga. Prijevod će biti iz tibetskoga na engleski, a ako bude potrebe, možda ću ja negdje nešto malo sažeti da bi bilo razumljivo. I wanted Venerable Rinpoche shortly to introduce you and your translator and announced that you will give a lecture in the Tibetan language and that Mrs. Ina Biler will translate it into English. If there will be need from time to time, maybe I can summarize something. I shall not translate all of what you say, and maybe there will be no need. That is all what I said. And now please give us a lecture. The floor is yours.
So today, first I would like to greet you all with Dashi Delek, which means hello in Tibetan. I'd like to say hello to the dean of the department and also all the other scholars and all the students. So thank you very much and hello.
Dinita Trinanso Kijashia Zote Tine Sambata Ninji Tine Sancho Simpson Drive Tine Shirapigoni Tine 마시고리 sondos.
Today I will talk according to the request. I will talk about love and compassion, and then what we call bodhicitta, love, compassion, and the wisdom mind.
다 상추 다나서 삼바데 닝게데 파주나서 출루 용조게 tik과인들이 상부도 지타 삼바 공당당 되는 닝게 공당 다 미기요게 땡니 뜻에서 제바 요스기를 마다 지타 삼바 프랑 모다 닝게 프랑 모 대파지 지바인들이
So in the different religions, in all of the different religions, we probably all understand the same with those terms, love and compassion. And maybe in different religions we approach that different. Maybe there's different goals, different motivations for cultivating love and compassion. But in general, the nature, the essence of love and compassion, probably we all would agree it is the same.
Tene ta nyangbaake tene samba gomde simki tamje dewata devijja dimbar jejes tene simki tamje samba gogures simki tamje devando yoyin sabde tene dewa dindu gulo jegures tene dewata devijja dimbar jejes 다 뜻이 삼바 토비하게 지역이 되니 뜻이다 제바 유시바레스.
So in Buddhism, we say when we cultivate love, we say that to represent that or our motivation, we say may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. That is the essence of love. We want others to be happy. And we want them to possess the causes of happiness. And so when it comes to the causes of happiness, that is love, then maybe this is where there's a slight difference in the view. And so then compassion, in Buddhism, how we put that into one term, compassion is that wish to think, may all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. So in that single line, the whole meaning of compassion is included.
Samba Deva Jude and Karishi and Wilson, Deva Jude, Samba, Ingi, Deva Juins. Contagion David Juisena, the name around Suki Jula, the Samba and Ingi Ubayana, the Nite, Rayi cross center, Shibde, Pebbles, the Deva Samba Konake. Juya samba chade yores. Ningi kurangi juya tani ningi chade yores. Tani simji tamde dewa tama dewa tam dunga yu deba. Ta tegi juya tani kariri sena. Tani ngaransu jula samba tani ningi mena. Tani tani tara shedam ducha ngaja chado te sugi jula yunaya. Tani te ta dunga juya. 동하게 주었다 대차리요레스 대도 마음속 담보 삼당되니 주었다 기체모지 차이를 대도 주었다 방고요레스 주었다 방와이나 되니 레버 가지고 방고요레스 대마도 마음속지 주었다 마방와이나 주었다 마방와이나 레버데 빵투고요 말이스 마음속다 삼바로 지와이나 내갑 삼바 지요리 마도 마이 띵보지 차고요 말이 대류다 짜부차는 가랑게 주로 유대베더니 삼바데 닝게니게 독소데 가리스나 시당당데니 차도당 ngajar la so ka ta thamche ta pango yore se ta zo di ni this chi she yore.
So we say that may they have happiness and the causes of happiness. And actually the causes of happiness is love and compassion, both together. Because whoever has love and compassion in their mind, just naturally will become very peaceful and very happy and very much at ease. Because love and compassion are what makes the mind happy. So we call them the causes of happiness. And for example, somebody who does not have any love and compassion, somebody who has cultivated, has a lot of disturbing emotions in their mind, like hatred or desire and pride, jealousy, and so on. All of these are the causes of suffering. They cause us much suffering. So we see that the cause of everything is very important, and we need to give up the causes of suffering. And because if we give up those causes of suffering, then naturally we will also not experience the result of suffering. But if one doesn't give up the cause of suffering, then one cannot avoid the result of suffering. So then even if there is a temporary thought of love, it is not always very stable and rooted in the mind. And we cultivate the opposite of love, and that is hatred and jealousy and pride and so on. So we are now in the Buddhist context talking about the importance to give up the causes of suffering and those negative emotions. And so somebody who has cultivated love and compassion will naturally be free of those disturbing emotions in the mind. They will naturally feel love or feel kind toward anyone surrounding them, just naturally. Any being, for example, just a little insect, an animal, or a human being, anybody who comes into their presence, they will love them. And because such a person loves others, the others around him will feel peaceful and happy. Because this person is not filled with hatred. And because there is no hatred, because there is kindness and love, it will make others also feel happy, everybody around them. It is because they love, they will not get angry. And it is because they love others, they will also not get jealous at them. And then people will naturally come around them. They will want to be with them. They will want to work with them or spend time with them. And because they are free of those negative thoughts, they are not angry or jealous, they are not prideful, and so on. So everybody will feel happy around them, and everybody will naturally like them. That is just the nature of their love. And then on the other hand, we can see in this world there is so much conflict and war and so on. And if we look closely at the causes of that, it starts with some negative thought, hatred, or some other forms come from jealousy or competitiveness and so on. And it is because there is not enough love, there's not enough compassion. This is really why there is so much conflict and many problems in this world. So why there is so much difficulty and conflict in this world? It is because, for instance, the larger ones, the more powerful ones, suppress the smaller ones, and those who are equal, they are competitive and jealous. And so, since we are young, we have to place a foundation, a basis of peace and happiness in this world. We must contribute to that. And so for that we should understand what is it that will cause peace and happiness, and what is it that will not cause peace and happiness. And then, knowing that, we make an effort, we try, and we will contribute one day to the peace and the happiness in the world. And that is the whole purpose of all the different religions. It is to create harmony, peace and happiness in the world. And that is what all the religions try to impart on us. So peace and happiness cannot be achieved only through the body, but it is something that must be achieved through the mind. And we achieve that through receiving the advice that we receive from the different religions. So whichever is the religion, if you take the instruction, the advice from that religion, and then you put that into practice properly, then in this life you yourself will create peace and happiness for your own life, and also will contribute to the peace and the happiness, the harmony in your surroundings, your country, and the whole world.
벤촌데 마랑소 소소라 저 직삼 땅마이나 근데 소소기 주라 지금 차도 유대베이나 차도 텔레티니 되니 마랑게 다 법정은 도가 법투 빠르라더니 가디에는 되니 마랑게 차도 거니 되니 이해나 뜻이 마디베 지도 비어서 벤나 마랑의 뜻이 법정 야가요바 마랑의 뜻이 남바 수제 야가요바 다 마랑게 내가 다가 뜻이 야가요나 되니 가디에는 가서 차도 지기요 차도 텔레티니 이 차도 지사 되나야 마데베 요레데 라니가야 가디에는 지 마치비지 요레스 베디나 이제 마랑도지 주라지 마자유 데베나 당 마자 대왕게 대 마주 이나라 이게 통총 망보시에 거 이는 통총시에 델레데는 이양 셈팜 셈마지비지 라니야 다 라니비지 두보 뉴뉴 차기로 빼는 마랑 그 뭐이반은 통총시에 데베이나 데미마스지 마랑 가요 말 데네 라니 지고 차인 거예요 델레데는 라니 마지비지 다 빼는 마랑 시당으로 지 첨부 나가 요 데베이나 다 델레데는 다 가두이나야 뭐이반은 투파 쇼요 다 빼나 뭐지게 테스트 계자 시당 만들고 뭐지게 테스트 남주tin다 만들고 다 드디 좋아하나 이 막생가 나긴 포용요래 포는 되니 시당만 되니 뭐이반은 투파자 다니 마나야 마치비자 다 너는 마나 속에 따라 대화기 쥐어다 동하기 쥐더니 문진지에 따라 동하기 쥐어대 다 방고야 그 기침으로 동하기 쥐어다 대지는 답지 지인들 다 시당시바되다 마자시바다 차도시바 다 대만소 동하기 쥐어 차대 대 동하기 쥐어대 마방고이나 다 뭐만한 지 법정이야 보시 시유야 보 라네 남지가 멋진거 차바이나 되니 되게 주대 다 뇽받아 말아비면서도 되니 콩코역대 야보 좀 두고요 빼는 만 자카부 만화 친구도 뭐 말아도 좀 레비와이나 되니 그 자카다 롱바 참 마코라 마데르죠 그래서 코랑 유 코랑 담보니 시유유장 말아들 때는 되게 참 마데가 조비어레스 대 담보니네 랑게 동 랑이 탐제 마데르 존니게 랑게 주데 단조와 땅고야데 개침보는 거여레스 빼나 당 말아도 대화도 데비주시엔데 되네 대화도 데비주 가레리 대화도 데비주 다 다른 말아서 공대시반하게 돼 삼바다 닌지니들이 대는 다 삼바다 닌지데 식 주라요나 식 빼나 신지 속차 충용이 주라요나 양다 말아도 먹이 주라요나다 삼바다 닌지데 요네존데 라니가 가디에나 쉽대 앞에 지난 밤주 친구 인자노 지난 밤주 친구 인자노 지난 밤주 미자노 법정 미자노 간단 못해 셈들라 쉽대 앞에 요레스 대다와 말한수 주대 다 대화기 주 쉽대 앞에 요나 드니 대대니 다 말한수 법정 야보지 요나 법정 야보대 다 야보지 비주 땅 듣고 요레스 가르디스나 그런 멋성고 인사들 다 법정도 남주로 로대게 다 심지 지 대보용이야 지보용이야 다 매저지 든지인데 다 삼바트 닌지 다 든지 주를 유대 맞대 단지 남주의 시험 친구이나 든지그 맞대야 다 약하고 만하 친구들 레비용이나 다 대근 잠벌는 핀토고요래 최선은 잠벌는 핀토 중선은 소속 게라 대마고 소속 롱바 소속 말에 다 소속 벤제 대바 용수도 받는 거 사이게 핀토고요래서 그런 담보니는 삼바드 제와 인사들 삼바드 제와 그 실레데 랑다 인 참마 그 대지 중요한 미유 인사들이 다 고급 친구 문화 친구들한테 고급 친구 요들이 대가 심지 탐지는 빈도유양이다 던지기 레갈랍 친구 지투고요 텔레티는 뭐뭐 잡을래 못 참고 도난지사 잡을래 못 참고 콜 제와 지사 잡을래 못 참고 고 가사지사 차요 가래리 호랑이 삼바드 제와 신유의 남주 속 간테니다 심지 망보지가 핀다 통도 되게 되는 상황 그야데 라지엔데 되지 제요레스
So then, for example, if you go to school and you have all of these negative emotions, for example, when you study in school and you're always very jealous at the other students, for example, then it will create a lot of disharmony and not such a friendly feeling between you and your friends. And you will always feel that you're doing better. You will always be competitive and think that I'm better in school, or I look much nicer, and so on. And if you always have that in your mind, then others also will notice that, and it will make them feel unhappy close to you. So it creates really this harmony within yourself and also all those around you. And if you're very jealous and prideful, then you look down on others. You belittle them, and then it upsets them. They're very sad about that, and it makes them unhappy. So it gets just worse and worse, and you will be left alone. Nobody will like you. You have no friends, and that again will make you feel unhappy. And that is just the nature of those negative thoughts in the mind. For example, if someone is always very angry and filled with hatred, then there always will be a fight. They will always have a reason to fight with somebody. For example, even if somebody says something small, says something that they're not happy about, or even if they don't say anything, even if they just make some kind of expression that they don't like, then immediately they get angry and they're very affected by that. And then they confront and they fight. And so they cause a lot of unhappiness between themselves and other people. So it is really important that we recognize what really are the causes of happiness and what are the causes of suffering. And then especially to give up those causes of suffering, which is our own hatred, the jealousy, the pride, and so forth. Because if we do not give up these negative emotions, and even if we turn out well in the worldly life, for example, even if you have a good education, you become very powerful one day, but if the mind is full with negative emotions and you're a very unkind person, then just naturally you will just cause your intelligence and your learning will just cause a lot of suffering in the world around you. For example, if there's a person who has become very powerful, they might be very educated, but they are maybe very mischievous, very angry in their heart. If they come to power in a country, for example, then they create a lot of disharmony and unhappiness between the people in the country. So that is because even though they're very educated, their mind is very rough, and that creates much disharmony for self and others. So it is very important to change all these causes that cause unhappiness in ourselves and all those around us. And so then we have said we need to cultivate rather the causes of happiness. And the causes of happiness, we have said, is love and compassion. And whoever has that, whether it is an animal or whether it's a human being, whoever has love and compassion will be at peace and will be happy, at ease in the mind. And it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor or educated or uneducated. If you have love and compassion, your mind is peaceful and happy, at ease. So if you combine these then, so if you first calm your mind, you create the causes of happiness, you cultivate a peaceful and subdued mind, and then with that you learn, you become educated, then your learning will become very useful. You can do many good things in the world. Then you are a good-hearted person that can actually bring a lot of benefit to the world. Then, together with your education and your intelligence, you can help and benefit so many beings in this world. And that comes from a mind of love and compassion as the intention. So either in a large sense you will be able to really contribute to world peace, you can really benefit the entire world, or you can benefit your own country, or you can benefit your own people, those around you, just naturally. Because you have cultivated love and compassion, and on top of that you have acquired the ability, the education to help others. And the intention that comes from love and compassion is to create happiness in this world. And if you have this intention, and through education then you also have opportunities, then you can really accomplish great things for this world and for all the beings. And when people hear about such a person, it will catch their interest. They will want to know about that person. Everybody in this world will be drawn to them, they will like them. And that is ultimately because they have a good intention of love and compassion that they have also merged with some learning and education. And so in this way they have acquired this great ability to benefit others. And somebody who dedicates their life to benefit the world just naturally will draw a lot of respect from others.
탑 시럽스 맞았다 남박에 시에나더니 탑신이 송도 요고요 탑신이 다라 탑 시바다 다라마서 삼바트 인기 이거네 인핑게더니 레지아더니 탑 시럽스야 되다 시럽광 시럽 나스 니요요래 직딘 비시럽다더니 직딘인데 비시럽스 시럽니 요요래 되는데 직딘 비시럽스나 다 말한 소리더라 롭종세네 롭종이 되니까 말아서 따라 십자네 망보지를 하는데 망보지 시트 받다가 시랍하게 용대리 되니까 직딩비 시랍다 보여래. 근데 직딩인데 시랍 시바다 남박하는 게 따로 따와게 되는 탁도 받아. 근데 남박하는 게 치주 다 엄마한테더니 다랑 안 속에 직딩인데 시랍 시바다래서 가래 쟤는 그 직딩인데 바탕 되니 체벌 봐봐 연구열에서는 다 만한 속에 따라 단지 시바지 연구열에서 단지 시바지 되니 단지 때 심지 통제에 따라 동화 때 띠니 반도열에 대화의 띠니 대화 통도열에서 대에다 남박에 남나다 띠니 대화 톱거나 지난 띠니 되니 동화 방거나 되니 다미기 동도 또고열에서 다 다미기 동데 또거나 되니 따라 남박하게 시에 되니 다미 또 시락때 하마오이나 되니 말아서때 동아데 내가 자는 것도 타게 되니 동아데 빵마로 인데 되니 타게 동아 빵거나 되니 따라 말아서 다미 또 시락가 장고레스 되니 다미 또 시락도 하고 와이나 되니 뒤되니 말아서 뒤지 동아데 빵도야 다 타나데 디남레고 요레스.
And so in Buddhism, like a special feature of Buddhism is that we practice the union of method and wisdom. And method means the skillful means, and skillful means, it means love and compassion. So the method is love and compassion or altruism. And then wisdom, there is actually two types of wisdom. There is the mundane wisdom, and then there is the wisdom that is beyond the mundane. The mundane wisdom is our intelligence with which we study and learn many things in this world. That is also a form of wisdom. And then there is the wisdom that is beyond the mundane, and that is the actual view of Buddhism as the true quality of Buddhism is this wisdom that is beyond the mundane. And why is it so special? It is because we talk about a concept called self-grasping. Because we believe in a self, we cling to a self, that we all experience suffering. And so even though nobody wants to suffer and everybody wants to be happy, we can only really achieve lasting happiness and lasting freedom from suffering if we realize that actually there is no such a thing called self, as self does not really exist. And so in Buddhism we must we cultivate through practice a realization that realizes that there is no self, and the wisdom that realizes that there is no self. And if we do not realize that, then we might be able to be free of suffering temporarily, but not ultimately. In order to become free of suffering altogether, we must realize that wisdom that sees that there is no self.
Tene kansa ke danjin se hibate ta phumbo ngala da benjin ngaran so kara phumbo yorwa zuju phumbo chobo phumbo dehi ji phumbo ji phumbo nabarshi phumbo se te ta rangge tara phumbo ndala tene dimpa chukka loke jine ta ngai yu samba ke jin de jin de tene phumbo ngala da de hibate tene danjin tene chuji da hibate ta ngaran so ke tara thongde be 연 nang 탐지 되니 되라 대연 딘반지네 딘반 나 이게다 딘진게 로 제데 버튼 추지다 세다 대다 다데 빵 맡아베이나 되니 딘집 동하데 타르미 되니 대 빵고요스 대 빵고나 다 다미 또 시랍시바 되니 대하 고아이나 되니 띠드니 라이 빵고요스 다미 또 시랍시야 다리 되니 고 시랍시야 제빵하고스나 나랑 풍봉한 다 진데 버테 딱 계시 그 딘반 맞아 하고 고어레스 그 딘반 맞아 봐 대하고 되니 거다 제빵하고 시랍 띠드니 잡이요레스.
So this term self-grasping, what that means is there's two forms of that for us. There's two forms of self-grasping, or grasping at identity, that is to believe in a reality. And that is either we believe in the reality of a person, of ourselves, that we as a person are a self. And also we believe in the reality, in the separate entityness of the things around us, all the phenomena. So in terms of a person, we identify with a self. We have a self-identity that is due to, we call it the 5 aggregates. So that is, we have a form, we have a body, and we have consciousness. We have a perception, we also have feelings, and we have thought formations in the mind. And all of these together we identify with. We think this is I, this is who I am, all of this together, those 5 aggregates. So we believe that this constitutes a separate entity. And that is called the self-grasping, as to myself as a person. And then there's also the belief in the self of the phenomena around us, and that means that you see objects, you see the things around you, and you also perceive them as separately existing entities, truly existing things. And for as long as we do not let go of this false belief, we can never become completely free of suffering. So in order to become free of suffering altogether, we must realize how things really are, and that they do not possess such a self-identity. And so we can understand that when we first investigate, we can look into those 5 aggregates, the body and the consciousness and so on. And when we look at each of those aggregates, we can understand that they themselves are not who we really are. So based on that contemplation and realization, we develop this very special, this not mundane kind of wisdom.
Do sad se nije činilo da je potrebno nešto tumačiti Sada mi se čini možda se može nešto malo sumirati od toga što je bilo rečeno. Dakle, jedna je stvar o kojoj je Rinpoche govorio, se temelji na vrlo razrađenoj psihologiji u budizmu koja služi eskatološkim svrhama i koja dijeli pobude u našoj svijesti na one koje omogućavaju funkcioniranje naše spoznaje i one koje motiviraju našu volju u djelovanju. Ove koje motiviraju našu volju mogu biti dobre ili zle. U tom smislu mržnja, požuda, pohlepa mogu biti naravno poticaj da činimo zlo, uzrokujemo patnju u svijetu. Najbolji lijek protiv toga je njegovanje onih ustrojnica naše svijesti, onih pobuda koje će izazivati dobro u svijetu i sreću drugih, a to su u prvom redu ljubav i suosjećanje s drugima. To je dakle velika tema u budizmu, koji je zapravo nauka kako postati bolji. Polaže se velika pažnja na njegovanje onih ustrojnica naše svijesti koje nas čine boljima, a među njima su u budizmu na najvišoj cijeni, to je naravno slično kršćanstvu, ljubav i suosjećanje. Drugo, mi često shvaćamo i sebe i svijet kao neupitnu zbilju. To je jedan od predmeta kritike u budizmu, upravo o tome sada govorio Rinpoche. Da bi se objasnilo lakše do koje mjere mi nemamo zbiljsku utemeljenu sliku o sebi kao osobi, budizam kaže mi iskušavamo sebe, shvaćamo sebe kao jedinstvo i tijela, i osjećaja, i zamjetaba, i onih ustrojnica svijesti koje omogućavaju našu spoznaju i naše djelovanje, i svijesti same. Ali to nije uvijek združeno i to se, na primjer, jako ću pojednostavniti, razdružuje u smrti. Tijelo ne ostaje povezano sa sviješću. Dakle, ne trebamo sebe shvaćati onako čvrsto i nepromjenljivo kao što se shvaćamo vrlo često u svjetovnom nazoru na svijet. S druge strane, niti predmeti izvan nas koji shvaćamo da su baš takvi kakvi nam se čine, nisu uistinu takvi kakvi nam se čine. Jer nismo svjesni ograničenja naših spoznajnih moći kojima ne vidimo uistinu kakvi su. Naravno, o tome ne bih želio ja govoriti više nego što je govorio Rinpoche, nego samo da shvatite, radi se dakle o 5 sastavnica onoga što mi shvaćamo kao svoju osobu, a koje nisu trajne. I o uvjerenju, dakle s jedne strane smo mi zbiljski, s druge strane da je svijet izvan nas zbiljski, takav kakav nam se čini. Budizam smatra da postoje sjajni, vrlo duboki, ozbiljni razumski razlozi da sumnjamo da je svijet takav kakav nam se čini. A ono prvo što tu čvrstinu pojava u svijetu, a i nas kao takve pojave, čini, stavlja odmah u pitanje i u sumnju, jest to što je sve u svijetu međuovisno i ništa ne postoji. Nema svoje sopstvo u sebi, nego je u međuovisnosti sa svim drugim. I drugo, kad bi imalo svoje sopstvo u sebi, ništa ne bi bilo prolazno i smrtno. A to očito nije istina. Dakle, kada shvaćamo pojave kao nešto čvrsto i zbiljsko, očito griješimo. Evo, toliko, najkraće toliko. Excuse me, but I just wanted to someone has to explain something.
Dami to Bishrap is and Litinite conditioning us of it, Dami to Bishrap Shiva Dami to Bishrap de Marangi, Maran so Tapjisi, whereas Marangi Maran so Tapjisi in the Mashiba the Tindrip Jindu, Mashiba the Yam Zuku Kawadu, zubu kawanda, zubu chashi kawanda, so tapkesi shimjoshi, mashi bajara, hiyo mares. Ta mashi pati yana sem tebi nues. Sem korama yang tapkesi yur. Yang sem shibaji yang maran suci jabde bajara, hiyo mare. Kado lo jabde bajara, hiyo mare. Yuble jabde bajara, hiyo mare. Ta jubji to so mambo gete, tate marawati, ta mashi baji dindrip jinje chani raka hiyo mares. Mashi baji dindrip jinje chani maran sate ta, ngaki zinde pe yurla tana maran su injin isin zinde pe yurya. Tene ngaki pa maru tate ngaki zindu yurya chukku hiyo mares. Te tabu ta donji nelo gete ta ngaki baji jabde baji mipa ha kongkin ki hiba. Tena mazu shirat. Ayan labu yore, dami to shirat ayan labu yores.
So how can we understand this wisdom that realizes that there is no self? And we can understand that by examining ourselves, by trying to find that self that we believe exists. So if I truly exist, if this self-identity truly exists, then it has to be somewhere to be found. So we identify with our bodies. So then you can look into your body, you can investigate it and see then where in the body exactly is it, or what part is it. And as you dissect your body, you will find that actually you cannot find this I that you identify with anywhere in your body. And so then, that being the case, you might think that it must be the mind then. And that's also something you can investigate. So then again, you can examine and look into your own mind and see where can you find this I, this identity there. And again, you cannot actually find something that here is the I, the identity, because there's nothing there actually. It has no particular shape or color or anything like that. So the more you look for it, the less you can actually find any true existing I. It is just an idea, a concept in the mind. And because of this thought of I, this idea that there is an I, then we also see everything else as separate from us. And these are all the objects around us. And so if we cannot find the I within us, then we can also not actually find a truly self-sufficiently existing object around us. And so based on that basic contemplation, you can understand that the I as self does not actually exist the way we think it exists. And so that is what we call the wisdom that realizes selflessness.
Yurla masu nju dimpat chupa ndugu yore tene yurde yantene dimpat chubyo manes dinjup jinji upochi yama dinjup jinji upochi yupa yena tene ngaran so tara sarpa yaji ya ta ingba manji ya yo mas ko tambure dimpat chubde yoyo kharis tara yude bate lo jakha kotha le yude goris tara me de yote lo kontha na mo ya yong chogo yo mas ko kharis dimpat chub salwas Then the Dimpa Madrid Sadi, then it was Sapa Mambo, Lemuri, Nimpa Mambo in Jingle, Carriage and the Young who your client Dimpa Madriba, Tambori, Dimpa Madrid Sadi, continue Jig Doya, so Jay Yopa, Jinji Sama, Dimpa Madrid, and called the Goyama, Tongu Polata, Dindu Jibu Yomares. But the John Maranzo, Dimpa Madrid, Jim, Tapji, CNN. Shipjin Tower, the pocket tapji, and Julie Pocket tapji, and the Mans of Duchin, Chami Duchin, Sedar and Paji, Taran, Papa Nagis, Mapa, the Nico Chami Duchin, Chama Dribachan, the Nico, Nimba Madriba, Mubokana, me, Mubokana. Nanaz truly, Mubo, Dhondup, Mubokana, your manis, and to nugget in you, the Batata, Mata, Chami Duchin, Pamtico, Chami Duchin, the Tensoma in the Nico. Then Debbie said, Dingy be Bachan, yours, and Tinita, your crying, your maris, your crying, your marilla, your crying, your maris, your crying, Dimpa to buy your marilla, your Zinzig same Shibaji, called Dimpa to the Bachi, your maris, and Maranzuchi, Trua, to none, Tuning 좀 춘다 내로고 돈 마다 온데 다음에 또 싫었대 말한 속이 하마온 소리더니 가지다 춘낭기 문지게 춘루요라 문진지에 춘루요라 마도 돈을 당하는 속 만들어이나 요만해스 이거 내로고 되네 요만해스 얘는 가서 이따라 요대바다 나대바다 마 춘대요레스 타테 필로 난주 코랑게 나네 난주 코랑게 따라 싫어하게 되는 시행이다 이제 시행을 가서 난주 코랑을 따라 돈 담을 띵바 당 공주비 띵바서 이 시행 따라 공주비 띵바들 따라 가서 이거 요대바다 탐치 가서 공주장아 예레스 타테 배 따힌 지네 되네 마 따지시 되네 내로 또 빠와 되게 되네 띵바트바 만통와다 미바당 마드바 하고데 틴텔 돈 담비 띵바세 근데 남바 니게 되네 마 남주시비요레스
So then we also think that those objects around us really exist the way they appear to us. But in the same way we can investigate them too, and we will also see that we cannot find actually an object that truly exists as a separate entity on its own. And because if it would exist as a reality on its own, if it would be a self-sufficient existence, then it would always have to be that way. Then it must have been there forever. Nothing new can ever arise because it always is as it is. And nothing can ever decline, nothing can ever change, nothing can ever be destroyed. Then this self-sufficiently existing thing must always exist for endless years. It must always be there. And nothing could ever be new, nothing could ever change, because everything truly exists. But because things do not actually truly exist the way they appear, there is constant change. That is why always new things come and old things fall apart and collapse. Because things do not exist as they appear to us as a reality. That is why things are like in a circle, always changing. And so we can realize that through applying our logical reasoning mind. We can contemplate that. It is similar to the science, the natural sciences, who are trying to find the smallest atomic particle that makes up the universe, and the smaller it gets, the less they can find the smallest particle. And in the end, they come also to the conclusion that things do not exist the way they appear. So it is similar to that understanding. And the way it appears to us is a very coarse perception, and that is our deluded perception. Because our perceptions is so coarse, we perceive things as less real, the way they appear to us. But then, like the scientists, if you look closer into each of these atomic particles, you will actually, in the end, not be able to come up with, here it is the smallest particle, this is the cause of everything. We cannot find that in our coarse dimension of perception. And so in this way we follow various lines of philosophy reasoning, and we find that also the object that we perceive does not truly exist. It is only a confused perception by a very coarse mind. And because it is very coarse, we cannot see how things really are. And that is the opposite. That is not seeing the reality, how things really are. And not seeing how things are, we just believe whatever we see. And that is the delusion, that is the confusion that we just follow. And if we look into that, we can actually investigate that this is not how reality really is. This is just how we perceive things. And so that is mainly what is explained in the Buddhist philosophy when we explain this wisdom mind. And so in general, in Buddhism we talk about the ultimate reality, the ultimate truth, And also we talk about the conventional truth. There's two levels. And in the conventional truth, it is explained that all of those perceptions, all of those things that we perceive are only a relative, a conventional perception. But if you look closer and investigate them, you will find that they do not really exist the way it appears to our coarse consciousness. And that is to then realize how things really are. So Buddhism is always explained in terms of these two levels, the ultimate and the relative.
Shirab gone, the Tamji, Dimpa Madripa, Timpa Madripa. That the jig in the Tapshin in the Sondu unity, Namju Matsukita, Nabakatun, the Sungu, then you tara Maransu, that Chulo Samana, Liquid Hubs and Mamboji, you, then it's some of the Liquid Hubs at the parts of Kotoche, Kobdurje, Objonsena, then Yeshinana. Chulunana, that ya put in the Yuri, Nambana Yuri, Hindi Nana Yuri, Chulo Karina Nako, Sinti, Pinto Yuba, Sinti, Tara Uyuk, Pinto Yudepa, or Rangi Sembitenia, Sembi Yomo Papaya, Pinto Yudepa, that the Jig Mango to you, didn't have the Mangoji passes around to Kodurje, Kotoche, then it did in Papiansena, the name around to Chitondela, Shamdeva Chimbo Duptepa. So which young Maransochi, Namju, Kangi, Singleton, Kangi, the Kangi, Madava Mango Yure, Kangi, the Soso Musitara, Soa, Kangi Chepayana, Simla Kangi Yure, Yan Yin Maraki, somebody Ninja Gungu Yuna, Yin Siming Dunga, Kangi to Tongoyana, then it didn't show at the Ranga Saint and Lebanon, Kangi Chungu Yure, the day that was same with Dunga, same with the young Soa Kangi, you, Deba. The Dina, the Dorzin, or the Pachu, Deming, or the Namba Tower, Damito, Shrub, take it in the same with a Kangin Dubarote, take 2 years. Carson, Maka Sentina, Takangiji, Lebiana, cook up the doing Masokita, Dodo, Jubdevana, Sema, Jichimbo, Sema Jiba, Euros. Tell a Namba Damito, Shrub, take Tapji, seeing you, Dodo, Jubdevate, Tigana, Tuguyo, Matonti. Chitwana is in the thing, I was saying with the department of the Tongu, then the number of the theatre,
And so in Buddhism we have said we practice the union of method and wisdom. So the method we have said is to cultivate love and compassion for everyone and to try to benefit them with this mind of love and compassion. And then the wisdom aspect is at the same time, while we are trying to benefit them, we also understand that nothing truly exists the way it appears. So that is like a special feature of the Buddhist view and practice. We practice this union of method and wisdom. And in fact, all of the religions in the world have some really excellent methods and teachings. And it is very beneficial to exchange these with each other and to study and to learn from each other. Because everyone has something really beneficial to offer. For example, also in Christianity or in Buddhism or in Hinduism and so forth. There is always something that is beneficial within those teachings. And there is some methods that are of a more immediate, direct benefit to a person. And then there is others who more relate to the mind and how we can eliminate those disturbing emotions. But it is important very helpful to exchange and to learn from each other. And with that new understanding, then we can really make a great service to the society, to our community. So in terms of the Buddhist view and how we approach difficulty, we encounter all kinds of difficulties. Either we have some problem in our mind, some mental problem, or we have some actual problem, or something happens to somebody else and we are compassionate towards them and we see their suffering, and then it comes to us because we feel compassion for their suffering. The feeling of suffering actually comes to us, we take it on. And then we have all kinds of feelings that we have to work with. And so in Buddhism, we learn also from the perspective of seeing this wisdom, the wisdom that realizes that there is no self. And if we investigate those feelings and those problems again, then we can find again that there is nothing that really actually exists. We make something up in our mind actually. So you have some problem in your mind, but it is something completely created in your own mind. And it feels so real. It feels almost like it's really there. Like there's something that is very heavy that really pulls on you. So like a real thing in your mind. But again, if you apply this discriminating wisdom that investigates that, actually when you look at it, there is nothing there actually. When you really look around, so there is actually, it's a complete fiction. It doesn't actually really exist. There's nothing that you can see at all. It's not really actually there. And if you realize it, how it isn't actually, nothing is actually happening, that's the knot, this illusory knot becomes released. So in this way, it is a way in which we approach it according to Buddhism.
Ovome što ste sada još čuli, isto se može pokušati u nekoliko riječi sažeti. Dakle, budizam poučava da kada bismo tražili svoje ja, koje smo tako uvjereni da postoji, od kojega polazimo, da ga ne bismo nigdje našli, ni u tijelu, ni u duhu. Kada bismo pretpostavili da postoji neko samodostatno, samostojno biće, ovoga trena ne govorimo o Bogu, nego o bićima u svijetu, onda bismo morali smatrati da samostojno biće ne može propasti, ne može nestati. S druge strane, stvari takve kakve ih vidimo, bića takva kakve ih vidimo i mi sami takvi kakvi sebe vidimo, zapravo zbiljski nismo takvi kakvi sebe zamjećujemo i zamišljamo. Upravo zato se sve što vidimo i mi sami stalno mijenjamo. To da se stalno mijenjamo pokazuje da zapravo nismo takvi kakvi smo se sami sebi činili trenutak prije. Da ne vidimo pravu bit, niti svoju, niti pojava u svijetu. Naše ovo svjetsko, konvencionalno znanje, konvencionalna istina, ono što mislimo i kako zamišljamo ovaj svijet, može služiti za orijentaciju u ovome svijetu, ali ne može nas osloboditi od vezanosti uz ovaj svijet. Postoji nešto drugo, mora se postulirati da postoji nešto drugo što je puna istina za razliku od ove prividne ovosvjetske istine u kojoj živimo i u kojoj se orijentiramo, jer očito da ova naša predodžba koju imamo, naše naziranje, snalaženje u ovom svijetu, mudrost od ovoga svijeta, pomaže da se u njem snađemo. Ali nam ne kazuje konačnu istinu. Uz ostalo sama nestalnost svega u ovom svijetu pokazuje da nam se ne pokazuje prava istina. Niti o svijetu, niti o sebi. S druge strane, ukoliko na spoznajnoj razini se oslobodimo predodžbe o trajnome sopstvu pojava izvan nas ili nas samih, takvih kakve se zamišljamo, onda nam to oslobađanje od krutih predočaba i pojmova pomaže da se približimo onoj mudrosti koja nije od ovoga svijeta, a nadilazi ovaj svijet. A na tom putu, da ne idemo ovaj tren dalje, pomaže nam i da, ne shvaćajući sebe tako čvrsto i kruto, ne shvaćamo više niti granice između sebe i drugih tako čvrsto i kruto kao realne, nego da posumnjamo u način na koji mi vidimo svijet podijeljen i na koji ga vidimo na sebičan način. Dakle, budistička teorija spoznaje zapravo omogućava i budističku etiku koja treba poslužiti kao put da postanemo bolji i da se približimo onoj drugoj istini koja nije od ovoga svijeta i koja na kraju prosvjetljava onoga koji je dosegne. A način, dakle, s druge strane, način na koji pomažemo i sebi i drugima da se toj istini približimo, jest da u sebi ne njegujemo one negativne ustrojnice naše svijesti, kao što su mržnja, pohlepa i ostale, nego da njegujemo one pozitivne ustrojnice naše svijesti koje stavljaju u pitanje granicu između mojega sopstva i drugih, kao što su ljubav i suosjećanje. To su, dakle, pozitivni motivi, pozitivne ustrojnice naše svijesti koje vode i na etičkom polju, ali i na spoznajnom polju sve bliže i bliže onoj pravoj istini koja nadilazi ovaj svijet. To je prilike ovog budizma. Thank you very much. Yes, we shall have questions. Evo, sada, kada smo došli do kraja predavanja, ja bih predložio u ime našega predavača svima koji žele postaviti neko pitanje, izvolite, sada je prilika, možete postaviti svoje pitanje. There is no one person, but five aggregates. Who is the bearer of karma? Who suffers? Who makes karma, who suffers the consequences of karma?
Tibetan Jawaya Puri, Tinitara Manso, Le Hibate, Manso Pumbo, Datan Zipa, Tin Lehiba, Sapere, Teletin Lehibate, Pumbo, Datan Zipatina, Shiba, Titin Minki Ures. tara ngaranzo pumbo nga datin ziba dami ki tawa tong yung ina le sangi tang le shiba tang le misi tsama kona yini mariba ha konu yores te ha maona ngaranzo tara konu yores tara dami hirap te yona tini tegi tengi ngaranzo tara datin ziba te kona nga hiba ji mariba te le shiba te tewe jatani tukuyo mares leshi minsa yoyan tukuyo mare nga mariba te minsa yoyan tukuyo mares te ko le kona ngaranzo tunne le shiba te tuba ki
So that is a very good question, because it is now from the perspective of like an ordinary being who has not realized that there is no self. So then we identify with those 5 aggregates. We think this is what we are. And because of this belief, we accumulate karma. We accumulate actions or karma, and then the result ripens on the consciousness of this false perception. So that is to say that when one realizes that the 5 aggregates are not the self, and one realizes that there is no self, at the same time one realizes that if there is no self, there's also no one who accumulates karma. And if there's no one who accumulates karma, then also there is no karma actually. So then one realizes that all of that is a false perception, but not understanding that before we have realized that, even though it is false, we still circle around in our delusion, in which it appears real. And in this sphere, karma ripens in an illusion-like way. But once one realizes that it doesn't actually exist, you realize that there is no I, no real self. So then there, even less so, is there anyone who engages in any action. There is no action, there is no karma, and there is no result when one realizes that there is no self. But for as long as we haven't realized that, we wander in our delusion, in this confused mind. And from that perspective, we can say that even karma and its ripening is illusory, which seems real from the perspective of the confused one.
Odgovor, dakle, ja mogu pokušati još jednom ponoviti što je, kako je prevoditeljica prevela Rinpočeve riječi. Zapravo dok se poistovjećujemo sa onim spojem 5 sastavnica koje čine naše iskustvo, mi zapravo doživljavamo kako prolazimo kroz svoju sudbinu u ovom životu, ali kako nas karman prati po uvjerenju budista i u drugim životima. Međutim, zapravo kad bismo shvatili da toga sopstva nema i da se prestali se s tim poistovjećivati, tada zapravo ne bi više nikoga bilo ko bi mogao trpjeti posljedice karmana i bili bismo oslobođeni. To je ono što je rečeno. Svaki odgovor koji bi se mogao tomu dodati, zato je jako riskantan jer je budistički način izraživanja izuzetno rafiniran, a sve što bi se dalo kratko reći malo je jednostavnije od onoga što bi rekli budisti. Ali moglo bi se reći možda ovo. I veliki budistički učitelji, kada sumnjaju u zbiljnost sopstva i u zbiljnost pojava u svijetu, ne sumnjaju u postojanje drugih i u komunikaciju među našim svijestima. Kako god se to razumjelo. Samo te svijesti nisu zamišljene kao nešto istovjetno sebi sve vrijeme, nego kao što se naša svijest u našem iskustvu i pokazuje, kao nešto što se također stalno mijenja i teče. Dakle, oni jako paze da ne upotrijebe nijedan metafizički pojam. Gotovo bi se moglo reći kao što su kao što je način budističkog života inače asketski, tako i način mišljenja, vrlo asketski. Oni se ustručavaju reći sve što bi moglo ne biti istina po njihovu značaju. Ima li drugih pitanja? Pater Nikić, izvolite.
Prema ovome što smo mogli čuti, uvijek treće je odricanje od ovih destruktivnih težnji kao što je mržnja i druge destruktivne emocije. A što je sa ovim pozitivnim željama prema budizmu, jer pokazan ideal bi bio osloboditi se čak i ovih pozitivnih ljubavi, željeti nekome dobro i to nas na neki način veže za ovaj svijet. Je li onda ideal da ništa baš ne želim ili prevladavaju ovo mišljenje da je maksimalno željeti dobro i ljubav imati sa milosti s drugima, da to pojačava moj put prema sjedinjenju sa apsolutnim ili utapanjem u nirvanu, ili jednostavno treba se odreći tih želja da onda ištetne iz ovog svijeta.
If the source of our, if the condition of our happiness is to renounce to destructive emotions like hatred, greed, and so on, do the positive emotions bring us closer to the enlightenment, or should we renounce also to positive emotions in the end, like love and compassion? Or should they endure until the end?
So wonderful. Samba ninge hibate nazo chiki ta na chu na sanje ma yuno jeres tene samba ninge khoranga ya taranga so ni yure nzimba jinji samba ta nzimba jinji ninge ina ta teke tato sang je tukuya mares nzimba chawa 너 때는 mikpa jeba nina mikpa jeba samba ina mikpa jeba ningi ba ina tene dekita ngarang sodara ninjin samba jesa yoda kenki ngarang tene ninjin ki shiba te yores ninjin di shiba yona tenga so sanje tukundos tene ta samba de ningi pango res na pango yo mas samba de ningi shiba te mikpa mi samba chimbos mikpa mi ningi chimbos mimi ga samba chimbo mimi ga ningi chimbo te ta ninang ki hipa le manjewa ninang ki hipa le jarwa tene samba chimbo se ta tende ji yungu yoris kona chamba samba kona chamba ningi te du tan zimba yo ma tan do dina zimba mi ningi chimbo te pango yo ma res.
So in Buddhism we generally say that like the very foundation, the basis for attaining enlightenment is to cultivate first love and compassion. But from a normal perspective, even when we cultivate love and compassion, there is a perception of subject and object. There is a duality. So also that is a false belief, actually. And due to that, for as long as one sees love and compassion through the lenses of subject and object, it will not lead to ultimate enlightenment. Because ultimate enlightenment is a state then that is completely free of such separate perception, subject and object sort of perception. And if there is love and compassion that is bound by a subject-object duality, that is, here I am the subject that cultivates compassion to that object there is still this false perception of there being a separate entity. And as a result of that, one cannot attain complete enlightenment. But then, do we have to give up love and compassion? We do not have to give up love and compassion, but through cultivating it, this conceptual sort of compassion becomes eventually an unconceptual compassion, like a compassion that is free of any reference point. That is, there is no perception of duality, of self and other, subject and object. And that compassion is spontaneous, or it is everywhere. It's all pervasive, without any separation. So that, for that sake, we do not need to abandon love and compassion.
Za svaki slučaj, ću kratko. Nadam se da ste svi razumjeli, ali ako ste razumjeli, moći ćete i prosuditi prevodim li točno. Dakle, ljubav i suosjećanje vode nas, čine nas boljima, vode nas bliže prosvjetljenju. Međutim, onakvi kakve osjećamo u ovom svjetskom iskustvu, još uvijek su prave razliku između subjekta i objekta. Ja volim nešto ili nekoga, suosjećam sa nekim ili nečim što je različito od mene, neki objekt. U tom smislu, u konačnom prosvjetljenju više nema razlike između subjekta i objekta. U tom smislu nema ovakve ljubavi i suosjećanja. Ali da li to znači da više nema uistinu ljubavi i suosjećanja? Vjerojatno bi bilo točnije reći da tada ostaje suosjećanje sa svima od kojih se više i ne razlikujemo, kao nepojmovno, nerazlikovno suosjećanje i ljubav. I sve prisutno.
Bog bude sve u svemu.
Da. Izvolite. The gentleman asks if Venerable Rinpoche is a vegetarian.
So he says, I do eat meat, but I understand the faults of eating meat. And that is why I eat as little as possible.
Dakle, odgovor ste čuli. Časni Rinpoche kaže da on jede meso, nastoji ga jesti što manje i smatra da to nije dobro. Imamo li pitanja? Izvolite.
Što je svijest u budizmu? Ne postoji ja, postoji općna svijest. A ne postoji svijest, kako mogu postati svjesni nečega?
Dobro. The question is, if the concept of I is not real, the concept of myself is not real, does my consciousness exist? Of course, if my consciousness does not exist, how can I be aware of anything?
simply moka the shiba de napshi is the napshi telephone answer. Three days are cookers. Tatana man's dami to shirap shibateta, Namshi take Nelo Hisona, Namshi Nelo Hiwana, the Yishichayores. The Yishi de la Manzota, Ninding Shibat, Nissan Nina Shibat Yomares. Nina Shibat the Trovat, Yishila Yores.
So from our perspective, as not enlightened ones, as beings, we have a consciousness. We talk also this consciousness we talk about is the normal, ordinary consciousness, and based on this consciousness, this perception of consciousness, we accumulate karma or action, and we keep going around in circles. When you realize the nature of this consciousness, when you see the nature of this very consciousness, then we call that wisdom. And that is the same consciousness, but now there is no more dualistic perception. So there is an awareness that there is like a timeless awareness that is, however, free of the separate subject-object perception, like a unity.
Dakle, odgovor je bio u sadašnjem stanju naše svijesti, dakle svijest postoji i ona je podijeljena na subjekt i objekt. U prosvjetljenom stanju svijesti ona nije podijeljena na subjekt i objekt. Ja bih dodao, budisti se silno ustručavaju opisivati ono što nismo iskusili. Ali prepuštaju da se dođe iskustvom do toga. Zato ne opisuju to stanje. Ima li još pitanja? Izvolite.
Thank you for the interesting lecture and this opportunity to learn about your tradition of Buddhism. My question is with regard to something that was said. It was mentioned that the only way to be rid of suffering is to realize that a self does not exist. This is quite in contrast to many of the theisms in the world, which postulate something like an afterlife and a beatitude, of which an essential part is that there is no suffering in this state of beatitude. So my question is, does this view you've described, the only way to be rid of suffering is to realize selves do not exist, presuppose not only the falsity of this beatitude view, but also, in fact, its impossibility?
The beatitude refers to what exactly?
A state of perfect happiness.
Which is beyond this life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yena yang ta tinji dunga le tarta mata hibate semgi dini ngana tsokotara deji le rewa yu chowa te maji pata dunga le jina yu chowa te maji pata tinji dewa te toku yu maresi. Karesina ko tene ju ji le tine rewa dewa te top jang ju te yang ngana tsokotara korang ju te korang yang ngana tsokotara duze chade rewa korang yang duze chade duze ina konji yu namji ko duzu zona konji yu resi tene tinji dewa top yu maresi ngana tsokotara tinji dewa top wana ta ngana tsokotara semgi zimba ta chi ngana dendu jindu zimba ta donga chandu zimba tamji le nam shiba ina le te tinji dewa lana mi pa shiba ta titen tobu yu na bu resi.
So in the Buddhist view, we talk about two types of virtue now. There is a virtue that is concept bound, so that comes from a dualistic grasping, and then there is a virtuous action that is not bound by concepts. So if we practice a virtuous thing, if we do something good with a concept bound virtue, there will be a positive result. For example, we talk about in the next life we are born in like a pure land. We talk about that. But then it is still not asserted that that is the complete and eternal freedom from suffering yet. And because for as long as there is a wish, as long as there is a wish in the mind, a wish to be happy, or a fear of suffering, as long as there is any fixation or affliction in the mind, we still have not achieved like the ultimate state that is free from suffering. So it is possible that we achieve happiness as a result of some action, some cause. But the cause also is actually impermanent, and the result, the happiness, also is impermanent, because it is, we call it a compound of many things coming together. And because it is a compound, it will fall apart again. Whatever is a compound will fall apart again. It's only a question of time. These kind of cause and result related forms of happiness are also in the sphere of collapse, and that is why it is not the ultimate state of happiness that is always lasting. So in order to achieve that state, we must transcend, we must go beyond all fixations in the mind altogether. So all of our perceptions of wishing for certain things and not wanting other things, and so on, all of that must fall apart, must be transcended. And beyond there lies like an eternal, like a lasting happiness.
Mislim da nije potrebno prevoditi, mislim da jest. Ja bih isto još jednu stvar tu pitao, možda koju nisam sasvim. Tako dugo dok postoji želja, naše blaženstvo sigurno nije konačno stanje. Dok postoji želja, dok je ona ispunjena, i to čini naše blaženstvo. The wish exists. It is not an ultimate state of release or enlightenment. But I didn't quite understand what was the answer of Rinpoche. In that ultimate state, can it be described as beatitude, as happiness, or not? Would that be acceptable? Yes.
Jatang Makitara, Yeshi Kitara, Deva Shibate, Deva Shibate, country, nature, country in the Hakumi Seva, Macho Namba Koranke, and Dozer, and Shen, and Dingy Deva Shibate, Dingy Deva Shibate, Marancho Tara, Dig Magasimpe, Minjin, Chiwan, Tortabayena, Dingy Deva, the Litin, Ditin, Tombo, Dingy Deva Chapers. Tata Marancho, Minjin, Chiwan, my unit at the window. Yena Marancho, Sakchi gave a lap chimbo, then the Sapayena, Sakchi gave a lap chimbo, then the Sapayena. Then it is Sakchi gave a take. Then they were changed by the pink uris, they were changed by the top uris. Yena, they were changed, Chicha, Chan, Tadon, they were changed, Nizin Chua, Madrovayena, Nizin Chua, Shake Madrovayena, Namja, the Chan, Sakchi gave out the zone at the mark, young uris, as a young uris, one and a young uris. Ares Chan, Tadon, Ninam Zibat uris. Then Deva change, but Lim Dugatini, Makita, Shibate, John in Injing, Tata Toa, it did Deva, that didn't do good, about the name of those. Tinite Zotara, Chinanzo Gitara, Yeshuke, Deva change, Shibateta, Tinite Tambo, teaching the Machi in Mula, the Nanazo, Tarangaran, Marang Injing Chiwata. Marang dancing the Dami Tosumayina, then it channel to Shane Shibate, that danger, and Chikwami Bachali does in a Nabani Chikwari, Tayana, Tata Maran Sochi, Tara Saki give a mango, Jubne, Yena Yamaran, Taran Zimbat, Jomina, then it did Zimbat and Chipogoni, Devati Jesumayina, Tadon Yamana Chan Devati Shane Tinimara, Tadon Chan Injing Chiwash, Troyaki, Top Zarbindo. Yamana, te Mazabayena, then it don't in Chiwa, they were the Shana Jesus, the Minak Hibati Yuna, then it young, the Namchi Tarasaki gave us the same, then it young Kwan, the Yunguya, the Yungu retained Hachu, that a number of they were to change Batman, that a Yeshu they were to change, but the Jackson and Chiba inside some of those. Tartogo Tonga, that number 2 Koran, Tartogo Tonga, they were to change by she killing the Yumata. Some of them were not the bar search. To do some beers. Some years saying the Karishi Yurisana, they were to Shanachi, a beer. Some years saying the Maraki, Nizig in Chumata, that they were dancing the Yonsu Dorso, Sanjina beers.
He says, I don't know so much about this like field where what is this ram you're born after life according to Christianity, but how it is explained in Buddhism is that we can achieve something like a lasting happiness, and that it can also be achieved in this life. It is achieved whenever we become free of this bondage to a subject-object duality, a false perception of reality. And for as long as there is dualistic perception, even if we do many great things, many virtuous things, they will have good results, but still, because there is a false perception of reality, one still has not achieved a lasting happiness. But of course, one can be born after this life in something that we call like a pure land, like a very pure place. But still, even if one is there for a while, if the dualistic perception of reality is still ordinary, then one day, due to karma, this virtue of being there comes to an end again, and again one comes to wander in cyclic existence, because there is still a dualistic subject-object perception. So even in this body, or whenever we become free of this dualistic fixation in the mind, then we achieve the lasting true happiness. And so, according to the way the Pure Land that he just described in Christianity seems, also might be something that is same as the lasting Pure Land that we talk about in Buddhism. So when we talk about a place we go after we have realized that the reality, how things really are, and that there is no separate entity as self, then we come to a state of lasting happiness, and that is perhaps the same as it is explained in the Christianity. But if there is still dualistic grasping, even if you do many great things, virtuous things, but if there is still this ordinary perception, we say that you can be born in a Pure Land, but in that Pure Land still you need to practice. You need to practice to release this dualistic perception. And if you do not practice, then also eventually the virtue, the merit comes to an end, and again you wander in cyclic existence. So when we talk about the ultimate achievement of happiness as a lasting state of happiness, then from this lasting perspective, the Buddhist view and the Christian view probably are the same. But then we even go beyond that, because actually ultimately we say that even a Pure Land as such does not truly actually exist as a substantial thing. So actually when we talk about attaining enlightenment, we don't mean that we will go to some other truly existing place, which is like a Pure Land, but enlightenment is a state of mind that is free of all dualistic perceptions. So one is free of all these fixations.
Možda ću pokušati ovo prevesti nešto malo rastumačiti, jer možda niste svi mogli uhvatiti. Dakle, u budizmu, u mahajanskom budizmu također postoji predodžba o blaženstvu, pa čak i o čistoj zemlji, sukhavati, koju možemo usporediti s predodžbom o raju u kršćanstvu. Ali dospjeti u čistu zemlju, dospjeti u raj zbog svojih vrlina i dobrih djela, ne mora nužno značiti konačno oslobođenje, ukoliko se još uvijek svijet zamišlja podijeljeno na mene i ostalo, odnosno na subjekt i objekt. Dakle, i ako se netko dospije, oni bi rekli rodi se u čistoj zemlji, dakle u raju, ako se nije oslobodio odvajanja sebe od drugih, te predodžbe o dvojstvu, mora se u tome dalje usavršavati, inače će se ponovno vratiti u rođenja u svjetovima u kojima ima patnje. A kada se duh oslobodi svake podvojenosti, tada se postiže trajno blaženstvo i trajna sloboda od patnje. Naravno o tome, ja bih rekao i budisti o tome, suzdržavaju se govoriti, zato su ova pitanja na granici onoga o čem se može govoriti, a sva su pitanja izvrsna. Možda bih ja sad još postavio neko pitanje, možda ću ga prvo izreći na hrvatskom, onda ću prevesti na engleski, zato da ne moram prehoditi sam sebe poslije. Budizam je u mnogim svojim formulacijama, naravno, vrlo različit od kršćanstva i uči u njega predstavlja drugačije i novo iskustvo, obratno, ja vjerujem za budista uči u kršćanstvo predstavlja drugačije i novo iskustvo. Ali u nekim stvarima su silno bliski. nešto po čemu su te dvije religije jako bliske i što druge religije ne dijele nužno u istom stupnju, jest ozbiljnost shvaćanja problema patnje. Budizam polazi od problema patnje i traži u sućuti prema drugima rješenje kako osloboditi sebe, ali i druge od patnje. Dakle, naglasak da osloboditi druge od patnje raste s vremenom i u mahajanskom, dakle mlađem budizmu, je silno naglašen. U kršćanstvu ne treba niti govoriti, središnje otajstvo je Kristova muka. Dakle, moći suočiti se s patnjom je na neki način zahtjev koji se postavlja kršćanima. To su dvije religije koje više naglašuju patnju, neću sada ni spominjati, druge primjere od drugih religija koje zastupaju jednako plemenite vrednote, ali manje naglašuju problem patnje. Naravno, problem patnje je vezan sa onom naličje, lice i naličje koji su tu vezani, su, ako polazi do problema patnje, onda imate jaku motivaciju za suosjećanje, sućut, ljubav prema drugima. To je također nešto što onda te dvije religije povezuje. Dakle, reći ću još nešto, vjerujem da će nekima od vas to možda mnogo reći, čak možda i više od teoretičkih objašnjenja. Dakle, u kršćanstvu, kao što znate, dvije najveće zapovjedi su ljubiti Boga svim srcem svojim, svim umom svojim, svom snagom svojom i ljubiti bližnjega svoga kao samoga sebe. U budizmu je ta ljubav prema bližnjem, prema drugom, u krajnjoj liniji prema svim bićima koje osjećaju, u tom smislu još šire shvaćena, vrlo naglašena i na mnogo načina izražena. Jedno djelo koje je proučavao i časni Dorzin Rinpoche sa svojim učiteljima je jedno slavno djelo Bodhičarja Avatara, velikoga učitelja Shantideva iz 9. stoljeća, iz kojega ću vam samo citirati na koji način on govori o sreći, doduše o sreći još u ovom našem iskustvu u svijetu, i o patnji, i kako se s njima suočiti. Dakle, on kaže u Bodhičarja Avatari, a to je priručnik kako postati bodhisattva, to jest kako postati biće na putu prosvjetljenja. Sarve je duhkita loke, je keči duhkita loke, sarve te svasu kečaja, je keči cukhita loke, sarve te njasu kečaja. Svi oni koji su u ovom svijetu nesretni i pate. Svi oni pate jer su tražili svoju sreću. Svi oni koji su u ovom svijetu sretni i blaženi, svi su oni sretni i blaženi jer su tražili tuđu sreću. To je budistički stav. On je savršeno izražen u tim Shantidevinim riječima i gotovo bih rekao, to je neporeciva istina. U tom smislu bih pitao Dorzina Dhondupa Rinpochea. On je sam angažiran i u nekim oblicima aktivne, djelotvorne ljubavi u jednom humanitarnom programu, pa bih ga pitao koliko su budisti angažirani u aktivnom humanitarnom programu s jedne strane i s druge strane budisti se duhovno spremaju raznim meditativnim vježbama na recimo otvoreno suosjećanje s drugim bićima. Jedna takva vrlo karakteristična meditativna vježba se na tibetskom zove Tonglen, pa bih ga pitao da možda nešto o tome objasni. Benedikta. Rinpoche, I tried to stress that there are some traits which Buddhism and Christianity have in common and that are very important for both religions. One of such traits and one of central traits is certainly the attention paid to suffering. And the attention paid to suffering in Buddhism and in Christianity, where Christ's passion is at the heart of the religion, implies, on the other hand, compassion for those who suffer in both religions. I cited two verses from Shantideva's Bodhicharyavatara, saying that everybody who is unhappy in this world is unhappy because he was looking for his own happiness. And everybody who is happy in this world is happy because he was looking for the happiness of others. Now, I know that on the one question is how far the Buddhists are engaged in active, efficient practice of love, helping the others. I know you are engaged in a car relief project. So can you tell us how much the Buddhists are practice active love towards others? That's one question. And the other, how the Buddhists prepare themselves for the feeling of compassion. And one exercise, meditative exercise, preparing them for that is Tonglen. Can you tell us a few words about that exercise?
Tene Sutungo Gone, Yena Processia, Tada the Pango Yore. Tene, that's Zubano Jena, Makakami, Sindi, Dhondup, Kayu, but the data between Kali, Zutaba, Donin, Chitba, that the Dugone, Zuba Gone, Yamichigure, the Jundri Senate, Kadu, something Yen, Don Siela, Ski in a pin, blue mark, gone to pin diala, then it Dwyer, gone into the June Chemani Pachiata, tell the Jundri Lapure. That today, that we're going to sing Luma is going to pin to talk, Jim, that is Sambachi, Sorogichi. My Samba, you, then Samba bomb you, and a day that you put who's from Tora, Lani, Suosjećanje, Nepal, Basu, and Nature, the Legacy, start to lay Cheta Chunsu, Mambo Pambu, Gondor, Cheta Chunsu, they may but tap, Shira, Mambo, Gone. Pinto Jita, the better chicken, Pacheto, Yishiba engineering, and some of those. Tenita, Don Shibate, Karitan Shiki, Resena, Don Shibata, Ranik Deva, Ranik Digite, Digitela, Marangi Digit, and Marangi Digit Hako. Hako, the Sinki Tamil Tambun, Maranga Saba Chimuji, or what they are Chimuji, they did it, Margaret Digit, that Tamil in Yena. Musu mag semana date which we rest don't the rangi digit yin don't that tin and so mupo pamjo in that so which is same so what in some passage in a date then don't ask Lin Shin Singi Yingita Dunga you do it among boy what Dunga Musuman Dunga Mapu Pong did Dunga the rangi same to the and do dinner must simply come to the Deva Jimano, Domana, Jimano, Sabata, did not take it in the Tani, Tony, and that's all Titinima, Trio, rest. Then it Domato lanes and little duck, lay down, then a number of Mambo, Muslim Tovat and Lenit and Jungu, Pena, Pen of Tishuna, Muma Lama Chiquita, Mamanga Kachushi, and the day the Kabla. Today, slow nitara, kamba slow nitara, magic, chicken, doja veres, doja, chutty, kejam, doja, kejam, the lama, the garden, arula, chanma, sasa, courage, slow with chicken, soak, no matter, writing on similar, zulu veres, tell it in the tron, because Zubianma, sasa, the head of the matter, into Tanjia, young veres.
So what you say is really true, even though I have not had the opportunity to study Christianity in depth, but I've heard from many great scholars also that a very important practice in Christianity especially is to cultivate altruism and practice giving, generosity towards others, helping others. And that is quite the same as in Buddhism. In Buddhism, we call it the practice of the 6 paramitas, the 6 perfections, which is based on bodhicitta, or compassion, love and compassion. So the 6 of those paramitas, those perfections, the first one is to practice generosity. And that is, for example, to help others directly, in whichever way necessary or we can, whether it is to give them financial support or to help them with any of the other problems or difficulties. It is the direct giving, helping others. And then another practice is that of morality, and morality basically means that we do not wish to hurt others in any way. And then also there's the practice of patience. And that means that the patience, which is like forbearing any kind of difficulty to serve other beings, to help others. And then there's also the practice of diligence, of perseverance. And that is to always want to help others with body and speech in any way. But all the time, and with great joy, happiness about it. And even if we are, so we're trying to benefit others with body, speech, and mind as much as we can. And if we practice love, we say we cultivate love or compassion, we don't just meditate on that and do nothing, but actually we then do whatever we can to put that into practice, to help others in whichever way we can, to give them any kind of support, larger or smaller, to help them financially, larger or smaller, or to help them with any other skillful means or our wisdom and so on, whichever way we can. So that is quite similar to Christianity, actually. And then secondly, for the Donglen practice, Donglen has 2 syllables. And the first Dong means to give, so you give away. And Len means you take. So first you give away, and what you give away is your own happiness. So you first recognize your own happiness. And because you have great love for others, you wish that they also have this happiness. So you're passing your happiness from your mind. It is like a wish, may they all have that kind of happiness. So sometimes we actually directly help them, and sometimes we also give them this feeling of happiness. And then the taking is to take their suffering. Sentient beings have all kinds of different problems and a lot of suffering. So taking their suffering, it also means we bring their suffering to mind, and then we think, may they all be happy, and may they all not suffer. If you feel happy, you give them your happiness. And if you see their suffering, you take their suffering as in a feeling comes to your mind. You feel their suffering. It comes to your mind because you love them. You feel love for them. For example, there was a story of a teacher who was giving teachings to a crowd of people inside a building. And then outside of the building, there was a person who was throwing a rock onto a dog. And the dog was crying, but it was all outside. But the moment when the stone hit the dog, at the same time, this teacher inside the shrine room, he also cried out and he fell from his seat. Because the feeling just naturally came to him. And he took on that pain, he felt the pain of the dog.
Da li možemo sada zaključiti? Na kraju, I would like to thank very much to you, Dorzin Rinpoche, for your lecture, for your patience in answering our questions, and for all that you shared with us at this occasion. We would also like to thank to the translator, Mrs. Ina Lila, who made a wonderful work, translated quite a long and complicated thoughts perfectly, and you could possibly even enjoy the beautiful Tibetan language, which is an extremely precise language, and in which an enormous Buddhist literature has been translated and composed, so that the literature that small people has an enormous importance for the heritage of mankind. So we enjoyed also the Tibetan language, but thank you very much for your excellent work. We would also, of course, like to thank to the Dean and the whole Faculty of Philosophy of the Society of Jesus for their hospitality this occasion, and of course to the professors and students who attended in the audience so carefully and with such an interest. Hvala našem izvrsnoj voditeljici, hvala dekanu Filozofskog fakulteta Družbe Isusove, profesorima i studentima ovoga fakulteta, što su s toliko pažnjom pratili predavanje. Nadam se da ćemo svi nešto s njega ponijeti.
In the end of our meeting, I want to thank to our dear guest Dorzin Rinpoche for his lecture, which introduced us into some fundamental topics of Tibetan Buddhism, especially wisdom and compassion. I am convinced that it was a true personal enrichment for all of us. I also thank to our dear Professor Mislav Ježić, who was also the coordinator of this meeting, especially for his precious summaries. Hvala svima vama koji ste došli na ovo predavanje. Ući u dijalog s drugima ne znači gubiti na vlastitom identitetu, nego ga zapravo jačati uz pomoć druge strane po njegovom bogatstvu. Uvjeren sam da naš fakultet ovim današnjim susretom ne samo opravdava svoje postojanje, nego i pridonosi općoj potrebi kulture dijaloga u našem društvu. Hvala lijepo.
Prostite, ja bih se još samo htio zahvaliti organizatorima posjeta Rinpochea i osobito gospođi Vani Dakić, koja je negdje bila duša te organizacije, sjedi u prvom redu i među nama je možda izuzetna po tome što je mogla možda jedina razumjeti i govor na tibetskome našega Rinpochea.